Steven, it's a new year, it's 2022, and I've got a big, fat, juicy wish that it's going to be a year full of fulfillment here on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. What do you think?
I've got a big old sauce-drenched wish myself, just slapped on my plate here in front of me, and I'm going to dig in to a whole nother year of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
It's going to be a big year full of winding down our rewatch of Community and moving on to whatever comes next for us, and to be a part of it with us. There's so many ways to show your support.
We've got a big old warm pool here for you. Come on and slip on your skivvies and slide down the ladder and dive in. How can they get in this pool, Zach?
If you put your toe in the water and it feels fine and you want to get waist deep, come join us on Patreon, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the way to support this show and to help us move it forward as we move into the future. It's also the way to get more of us every week with our live pre-show every week, You Can't Dis a Pre-Show, and all kinds of Patreon exclusive content coming all the time, Steven.
We'd love for you to support us on Patreon, but you can also hang out with us free of charge over on Twitter at You Can't Dis a Pod. We are also on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, and we're on Facebook and YouTube under the whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Also, if you would like to be a part of the show every week, you can email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. To be a part of next week's podcast, write us in your trivia, your favorite funny moment, and your episode MVP for next week's episode of Community, and we'll read it out loud on the show.
If you like what we do here, leave a review wherever you leave reviews about podcasts.
Yeah, maybe like the Sharper Image product review site. Leave us a review there.
There's like a box full of sticky notes at my post office. Write a review and leave it there.
I hope you guys are jumping on board with us and you're ready to traverse 2022 with me and Steven. What do you say? Let's rip our way into another episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Cannonball!
I'll put like a big splash.
Yeah!
Hey, you might help me out with something. I think I lost a ball bearing and it rolled down them stairs.
Lost a ball bearing?
Mm-hmm. Down them stairs.
You want me to look down these stairs? Okay.
Did you just try to murder me? Are you trying to murder me? You're trying as hard as you can right now to kill me. Okay, well, I guess we'll see you in class tomorrow. Guy who tried to murder me.
Oh, I'll see you in class tomorrow, Mr. Winger.
Let's play a game, okay?
I'm out.
Let's play a mind game right now, you and me. And the
Okay.
listeners, they can be invited into our rogue. So, we arrive on our first day as prison inmates. Mm-hmm. You and I both, separate crimes, we haven't spoken in years.
Sure.
And across the luncheon table, we spot each other. And we realize somehow we've both become guilty of a crime at the same time and have
Yeah.
been put in the same prison. We're both near our first day. What do you think happens? Who do you think does well? Who do you think does poorly? Do you think we hang out? Or do you think certain lines divide our relationship? Do you think we get immediately beat up by how homoerotic and goofy our friendship is? What are your thoughts?
I'm hoping the prison has a lot of fans of the show, and they pick us out from the fan art. You know.
Well, it's interesting because much like being an employee at Starbucks, every prisoner in America gets a free subscription to Spotify Premium, and they all get a little. They all get a little iPod Touch, so they're really into us. They're really into Office Ladies.
Nice.
A lot of
you know,
how
Zach,
stuff
in all
works.
honesty, I've always said I don't think I would do well in prison. Now, I can get along with everyone. I think I'm too pretty for jail, Zach. You know, I don't have that hardened tough guy look. Like, I'm a little bigger now. You know, I've filled out. But my face is still that of a very kind
you're too
soul.
pretty. I've never rolled my eyes harder at anything you've ever said.
Although
And
my
I'm not
hair's
saying
short
you're
now.
ugly, but what is that? I feel
Long
like
hair
if-
Steven would have gotten demolished.
Long-haired, slender, 40 lessons a week dancer's body Steven would be someone's wife quick.
Yeah,
But
that's more my thought that I'm having, but I'm a different me now.
I feel like you could make that work for you, being someone's wife.
If he was sweet to me, I guess
And you gotta find someone important. And
what if
I'm
I
thinking
lucked out
for
and I
me-
found the one bottom in prison?
Look,
Just kidding. There's more than one bottom.
if we're being honest, we both have fair chances of going to jail, right? You
Very true.
mainly because of how you look.
Sure.
Me for my frequent murder
For your-
and crime rampages. I feel like my strategy going into prison would be, I really hope that I can have books.
Yeah.
And I would try to just completely keep to
Then
myself.
just kill yourself with the
Read
pages,
a
right?
lot of books. Yeah, it's really hard to get through skin on a meaningful level with the pages, but one of these days.
Well, here's what I think, Zach. I think we both,
I
neither
get
of us
through the
would try
whole
and
Junie
fight
B.
back.
Jones franchise.
You know, if
so
somebody's
fast.
like trying to take my fucking food, they can have my goddamn lunch.
You're not gonna put up a fight.
No, I'm not getting shanked. I'm not gonna
But
get stabbed.
at the same time, that could be an issue for both of us because then we're very much a target for whatever anybody wants.
Well, luckily for me, Zach, I'm black, so I'm automatically part of a crew.
I think we'd both have trouble because, like, someone would try to take stuff from us or someone would, like, try to beat us up or try to, you know, like, how does Chang say in the episode? He
rape?
says they will rape us. He says it, like, really obnoxiously. If something like that happens, I feel like we're the type of people that are going to be like, but what's your story? You know, who are you?
What's your motivation?
Who is Griswold E. White Power? And then they'd snap our
Behind
neck.
those swastikas is a story.
So write us in anywhere you can talk to us. Who do you think would get raped first? And tell us vividly what you think would go down if
Well,
Steve
here's
and
what
I
I'll
were
say,
locked in
Zach,
bars.
is the black crew, I can rock with the Black Power movement all day if I need
Sure.
to. I don't know if you could go full white power. You have to shave those luscious locks off your
That's
head.
true.
You'd probably have to get a tattoo.
But that's
I have
always
tattoos
tough
already.
because in a prison situation, sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yeah. But I already have tattoos, so I'm
Steven,
already in the club.
Here's what I think to
I'd be like, have you guys seen
avoid
Full Metal Alchemist?
to avoid an abundant, and we'll stop this soon, guys. To avoid an abundant number of rapings, I feel like we would have to have a I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry type situation.
Yeah, we're married.
we
We're
could
off
wipe
limits.
each other up and be like, oh yeah, when you guys aren't looking, we're just slamming it. So that way we could get away with like an
We just take a bunch of bathroom
overabundance
breaks
rapings.
together,
It'd
yeah.
be the normal amount of rapings. I think that would do us quite well. And then I think you could
Well,
get
they respect the institution of marriage
Sure.
in prison.
more than you
So,
think.
Yeah.
Well, you, unless your partner's outside of prison, and then
Well, sure, then
all
it
bets
doesn't
are
matter.
off. It doesn't matter. But prison marriage,
Prison's like Arkham City. Anything that happens outside of it doesn't count.
Jesus. This might have to be a Patreon exclusive episode of the actual podcast. 'Cause
Yeah.
this is going blue fast. What I wanted to say last was because of our marriage, you could get me into the Black Power group.
Yeah.
And I'd have a bandana on, and I'd be like, hey, guys, who's ready to teach me how to play tag football outside?
You know that, and it's from a Last Chance You clip from Netflix, but I've seen the audio on TikTok. It's like, we're all African American and Mark, and you could be Mark.
Yeah.
You like, you know, you like wear your shorts low, and we could give you cornrows, Zach. You could do it. Put you in blackface.
But I'd be the
That'd
one
go
who's
over
like, well, gee willikers, guys, I really appreciate the inclusion, but I just wouldn't want to do any cultural appropriation.
You're like, I'd love to wear your shirt,
Let's
Jamal,
move on.
but
Welcome
I just don't know if...
everybody to another week of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We're off to a grand old start already. Hi, I'm Zach, and I was born in the dirt, so I intend to die in the dirt.
Hi, I'm Steven, and Zach, if you look over there, I think I dropped a nickel over underneath those kitchen knives and that well-placed rope. You should pull that rope and see if there's a nickel on it.
Pull that rope. Steven rams his head into his webcam, trying to push me down a flight of stairs. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's get started right off the top by shouting out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
All right,
Those
Zach,
people-
why don't you shout at them this time?
I'm not a shouter.
That's not what I heard.
I'm more of a passive-aggressive talk downer.
Zach's not a screamer. He's a shouter. He just yells at you.
Yeah.
It is
So-
not sexy.
Danny M. Lugo, Mary Baker Budisa, Brandon Fulcomer, Planeswalker Prez, and Brian Thurman. Genuinely very thankful for everyone that supports us on Patreon. It's still nuts to me that we record this nonsense and a decent amount of people tune in every week, let alone that some people, granted, 2 of them are Steven's mom and girlfriend, but that some people are willing to help support us on a further level because they actually enjoy what we do. I think we've come a long way, and a lot of that is the confidence that having those people gives us. So if you'd like to help us be a little more confident when we start our new year of school in the fall, patreon.com. We've got Brokeback Bebop. We're almost done with the original run of Cowboy Bebop before we
crazy.
get into the animated movie and the live action TV series, which I'm sure will take that already super messy Patreon podcast into a way messier territory.
Oh, it's gonna get real
once we get
messy.
into the live action. That's been really fun, and I think it's worth checking out along with the pre-show and everything else you get over there. And we also got to shout out the man who, I don't know how many times, has bailed us out of a sticky situation where we've almost become rolling iPads.
You know, the first time I had to use my one phone call to call Matt from Communities, he didn't answer. But the second time, he picked up and hung up immediately. But
As
that
soon
fourth
as you
day,
said, "Hi, it's Steven." Don't hang up.
But a couple weeks in, he finally picked up the phone and he drove down to that, I can only assume, Arkansas prison. You know, the usually pretty racist, but learn to love me anyway. Security, sheriff guard.
you'd
moseyed
bond over your love of sweet tea.
Exactly. He came, he opened the door, he gave me a slap on the bum. Papa gave me a couple more slaps on the bum. The guy who was my cellmate came over and gave me a slap on the bum. And Papa
And
held
how?
my hand sternly and walked me out of there and said, you know, I'm disappointed that you made those choices, but I'm proud of you for doing the right thing and calling your pops.
That is, of course, a roundabout way to say thank you at Communities on Twitter for keeping the community fandom flowing and for putting our voices in the ears of so many people. I feel like we've got a decent thing here as we're wrapping up Community, and I don't think we would have the following to boost our next podcast off of without Communities, and I'm sure it will crash and burn without the support of
I really
Communities.
hope that as soon as we start doing something else, Communities, like, instead of like just not retweeting what we post, starts actively telling people not to listen to us, like just smearing our campaign, deletes
Yeah.
all the retweets
Yeah.
of our of
Blocks
this
us.
podcast.
Well, rightfully, they won't retweet our stuff when we're not doing community stuff. Already, when we do not community stuff, we don't get a retweet, which I get it. But we're the children. We should get at least some special treatment. Right? No?
He treats us pretty special
Yeah.
as is. Do you think that, like, because, like, obviously we don't listen to shows that aren't ours unless there's like an interview or something worth hearing.
Yeah. By
sounds
that, it
shitty.
means it has us in it.
Yeah.
I listen to one of the other community podcasts, and it's up to all the other ones that aren't listening to this one to figure out which it is.
Yeah. Do you think that they shout him out?
No.
Wow.
But,
fuck
nobody.
them. They suck.
But I mean, maybe they do. But
I
nobody
would not
asked.
know.
Nobody asked us to. It
Well,
was
yeah,
out of
we're
the,
just good kids.
the kindness of my heart when I was like, yeah, well, we don't have any push, but if you're gonna do that for us, we're gonna recognize you too. And I'm sure he's regretted that because we were real. I almost do want to go back and see the progression of thanks communities.
You know,
how do
we're
you think
so
we-
happy that you connected us to this wonderful community. We're happy to have you too.
Yeah.
Remember that time that you blew a fat load and it was us? Thanks, Pa.
Because, yeah. What do you think us 2 years ago even sounded like? Like, hello, I'm Zach, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm Steven, and I'm happy to be.
Anything you want to talk about before we get into the show? Are you into anything exciting now other than anime?
Let's see. I listened. I don't know. Did we talk about this on what show we talked about this on? It was right before we started recording, actually. I listened to some of the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I'm getting really into King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It's such a fun band name to say.
I listened to a couple of songs that I liked. I ended up switching to the Joey Badass album halfway home. Not because I wasn't enjoying the King Gizzard and his lizard.
Yeah.
But I liked a song called. Loading. I think it was called
Riveting
like
podcasting.
Big something wasp.
Big Fig Wasp.
Big Fig Wasp. I like that one a lot.
That's a great song.
That was a jam. I was like, okay.
That whole album is jams like that. Mr. Beat is a
H
great
on the
song
box.
Well, I've been getting really into King Gizzard, and I'll plug specifically the album you're mentioning before we move into Community, because I think it's interesting. They have, as far as I know, the first completely perfect looping album, which is so beautiful to me. I love stuff like that. I love an album. An album is my favorite form of receiving music. Sure, I love any song, but my favorite thing is when a whole album. To singles. Yeah, I mean, I will singles to an album that I'm excited about listening to, but my favorite thing is when an album like flows, is like cohesive. It doesn't have to be a concept, but when it's just like one thing. And I am a sucker for when one song like blends into the other really effortlessly. And this album, Nonagon Infinity, that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard does, they're a super prolific band that has 15 albums, and like 10 of them are totally different genres than the other ones, which is crazy. And this album, it's mostly like a metal kind of prog, psych rock type thing, but what's really cool is that each song effortlessly blends into the next one, and also they all like call reference to each other and stuff too, so it's all kind of one experience. And then the end of the album loops perfectly into the beginning of the album, where you could technically listen to the album forever and it would never end, and I just think that's cool. My brain
you
loves
should
that.
listen through. Now it doesn't loop quite the same way,
Sure,
but there's a cool, in that vein of cool connecting songs. Brockhampton, who you know I'm a pretty big fan of.
Yeah.
They put out 3 albums in 1 year, which pales in comparison to the 5 that King Gizzard did in 2017.
Putting out one album 2 years in a row is a massive feat. Nobody does that.
But they put out 3 in like 6 months.
More than one album in 1 year. That's crazy.
The end of the 3rd album loops with the beginning of the 1st album, which is
that's pretty
cool.
The new Jack White album just came out, and it was the second of 2 albums that he put out this year.
Yeah.
And the first album is more rock focused, and the second album is more acoustic folk focused. And there's some cool synchronicities between those albums.
Oh, that's cool.
I just like stuff like that. Let's move on. Let's talk about Community.
Let's do it.
I'm excited.
Community.
Last week I'm still hot off the presses of our interesting conversation that we had about queer studies and advanced waxing. And I think this is going to be another interesting conversation, although I don't think it's going to get quite as inspired or heated as last week.
doubt
do
it.
you?
Yeah.
We're here to talk about Season 6, Episode 5. After this, we have 8 episodes of Community left, Steven.
Wow. That's it.
That's crazy. I know. We've done it for a long time, and it feels like it now, but it has flown by at the same time.
Like, I feel like we were doing Season 4 like 2 weeks ago.
Well, all these seasons have been so short, but
yeah,
I feel
I
really
still
far
remember when we recorded the chicken finger episode. Like, that's like still like fresh in my mind.
That was that was the one we did with Alex first, and that was one of the first podcasts I did since I moved here. Maybe the first. Yeah. I didn't have a door yet. Aww.
Yeah.
I'm having fun walking down memory lane as we like set up whatever we're going to do next. We're talking about Laws of Robotics and Party Rights today. It's Season 6, Episode 5. This episode was directed by, who do you think?
Rob Schraub.
My
man.
Who is a creative partner of Dan Harmon's for a period of like 20 years at this point. But as far as Community concerned, he had been directing since Season 3, starting with Basic Lupine Urology, the Law and Order episode. Also infamously, can I say this, known as the Steven ate an edible before the podcast episode. If you didn't know that then, and I kind of edited around it because we were a little more meek about stuff like that then, maybe go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. I heard bits and pieces of it, but it was...
I think I cleaned it up pretty well, but it was a bit of a challenge. I'm sure. I'm sorry in advance, in post haste for all the times I've been mean to you. Because I'm sure I'm sure I was annoyed as shit with you when that was going on.
Oh, it was tough. I
Rob
was trying
Schraub.
my darndest. Rob Schraub.
He directed Basic Lupin Neurology. Last season, he directed a favorite of mine, App Development and Condiments, and G.I. Jeff, and Basic Sandwich. In this season, he already directed Ladders, and in the future, he directs quite a few episodes. Advanced Safety Features, which is coming up, Grifting 101, Modern Espionage, and the series finale, Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television. The episode was written by Dean Young.
Oh, good old Dean Young.
Didn't write anything else, didn't have a Wikipedia page. That's all I know about him. And the episode originally aired on Yahoo
Just
Screen.
some f***ing
Big
guy.
fan of her work on April 7th, 2015. Steven, my friend, my compatriot,
Yes.
my partner.
Oh.
Let's do some trivia. Do you
All
got
right,
a flavor
I've
of
got-
the week for us? My act trivia is gritty. It's really
Ooh, yeah.
gritty. And at first I thought maybe it was like a peanut butter thing, a mealy peanut butter thing, but it's not. It's gritty.
It's gritty.
It's the mascot Gritty.
Oh.
It's the hockey mascot Gritty. Just little ground up pieces of mascot in my act trivia.
Who's Gritty the mascot for?
You don't know Gritty? I don't really know what sports team it's for because I just said sports team, so clearly I don't know what
So
sports
clearly
team it's for.
not.
But Gritty is iconic a meme for looking scary. I'm pulling up a
Nice.
picture. This is,
Is
what
he
Gritty,
scarier than the...
This is what Gritty looks like. If I
Oh,
can get it
shit.
focused.
That's the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Yeah.
He's great.
Gritty.
Yeah.
So yeah, little pieces of the rotting corpse of Gritty.
Yum.
Just gritting up our act trivia. I've got 5 questions for you this evening.
You know, Zach, I have 5 for you.
Okay, you go first, lest
All right.
I take your first
Where,
question.
yeah, where does black mean bad?
Black means bad. Well, come on, isn't that the question? Black means bad. I don't remember. I just remember the joke around it.
Well, it means bad, like a cat or a banana or a shirt that makes you think you've lost more weight than you have.
I have a lot of issues with all of those things, because I have a black cat.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cat named Banana.
Yeah.
And I do frequently wear black shirts that make me look skinnier than I am.
That was targeted.
That was targeted. It was.
You should write into the show.
Yeah, all these years later. Hey, what is the iPad roller called? What are the devices technically called? Frankie says it near the beginning.
Jail pad.
Nope, telepresence robot.
Ooh, sexy.
Fancy.
What does Dave do to the inmate iPad?
What does Dave do to it?
Yeah, Dave, our good friend of the show,
I know.
Dave.
I don't know if I
Good old
want to know. He asks it a
Mr.
question
Solomon.
later at one point. That's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I don't think I know.
That's not what I'm speaking of. He's holding a
Not a good
plant in
start.
front of it.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like, ah.
it's kind of a dumb question. If I'm being honest with you, it's kind of a dumb
Well, not
question.
so dumb because you didn't get it right, did ya?
What did Willie tell Jeff to go after down the stairs?
A ball bearing.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Not a Baldo. Frequent listeners will remember.
Speaking of callbacks,
Mm-hmm.
what callback prop is in Abed's locker?
Ooh, shit. Now I've got to think what the callback was. It was to the, oh, hey, Troy's arm thing. The air horn? Was it an air horn? No, what was it?
We were looking for the evil Abed beard, Zachary.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking
You were
of it
thinking
that
of
way.
a flash.
Of specific. Well, I think they call it a callback or maybe a pop
They don't.
back.
They call it a pop back.
I do remember seeing
Learn the lingo, Zach, please.
Darkest Timeline beard, though. So I'm going to give myself that one. Your next question.
What?
What is Britta's party based on a true story of? No, not a cough.
A non-stop party till tomorrow real life party.
No, of fun and no rules.
Fun and no rules.
Obviously.
True. What does it say on the chalkboard in Jeff's class?
Basic law?
Ooh, you're really close.
I know. I don't know for sure. That was
Pre-law
close.
studies.
Okay.
Jeff Winger.
If you say so. I don't quite agree. What role is Annie in contention for in Britta's party? Like, we're very interested in you for the role of...
Susan.
You're close.
Susie,
You
Sarah,
know it's not that. It's-
Sorrow. Sorrow.
Yep, you got it. It's sorrow. Sorrow.
That's what my grandma calls Siri.
It's Sophia.
Sophia.
Sorrow. That's what your grandma calls Siri?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Your turn.
What time is it when Abed brings in the real actors?
Oh, early. 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. You
Whoa,
got it,
I
baby
pulled
girl.
that straight out of my rectum. My last question, what do you call getting your head stuck between the bars?
Oh, those good old metal ears.
Metal ears.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
right.
I couldn't remember which word it was before ears, but that was great.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was a good one.
It's
That's
time.
it? Yeah, it sure is.
It sure is time.
For what, buddy?
Not 6 a.m. It's time to read some emails. We have two. Well done, because we're doing a double trouble this week. And so those who wrote in, you get extra bonus points. We've got
Doesn't
an email.
really matter for the people listening to it now, but I not because I would never over explain how we record the podcast as a part of the podcast. I have never been known to do that. Make sure that you get in your email for 3 episodes from now by high noon on August 13th. Not at 6 a.m., but at 9 a.m. sharp.
We've got an email from our pure party papa.
What does that mean? Is that a political thing? What is
He
the
knows
pure
what gang
party
he'd be
believe?
with in the jail.
The pure party believes strongly against whatever this is.
Live from
That's awesome.
Ibiza. Tripping the Life Fantastic. Our Papa Matt from Community says, "Hi guys, again.
Yeah.
This isn't one of my favorites from season 6. I get the joke, and since the pandemic, I have seen remote-controlled iPads on 6 over and over, but it doesn't change that the ending of the episode just feels flat."
Since the pandemic, you've seen remote control iPads on sticks over
and over.
I get seeing the iPads.
I've seen the
or
Bob's
seeing
Burgers
Zoom
episode
screens.
where Tina goes to school from an iPad.
Yeah, I don't think that was pandemic based.
No, it wasn't.
I just is Papa like a secret agent or something? Is he a Perry the Platypusing us?
Imagine with a hat on, he just turns into actually James Bond. We're like, holy shit! And then he takes it off.
Matt from Communities. Perry the Matt from Communities. Papa has no idea what Perry the Platypus is,
Not
but
a
he is
clue.
one.
Yeah.
All right.
From the commentaries, Dan mentioned they couldn't get Erdman, Leonard, to stop hitting the iPad.
Yep, I'll bring that up later. I'll bring it up in more detail.
This does create a bonus Cougar Town crossover with Brian Van Holt, who plays Willie, who is probably my favorite character on Cougar
I haven't
Town.
seen enough Cougar Town to recognize him.
Love Bobby. He's Bobby.
Yeah.
He's her ex-husband.
Okay. I've
Kitty
probably
Cam!
seen 1 or 2 episodes of Cougar Town, like season 1 or 2 when I was a kid. when it
Bobby
originally
wasn't
aired.
fleshed out at
Yeah,
the beginning
I
of
don't
the show.
remember it much.
He
I
was
think
just
maybe
the
my mom
ex-husband.
watched it and I just caught a couple.
Yeah, I liked Cougar Town.
Yeah, one of those great shows to make the TBS jump, like Conan and American Dad.
And the person nobody knows that says eradicate in the end is Abed Geith, the person Abed was partially based on.
Isn't that cool? Isn't
Wow.
that neat? That's where he got the name from. It's a friend of Dan's.
That's pretty cool. Is he like similar to Abed in
I
personality
don't know
ways,
if
too?
he gets anything else from him but the name, and that's a great name for the ethnicity that Abed is without being overused, you know?
Yeah.
I don't
Cough,
think I
cough,
really...
Raj being the name of every
had heard
person
that
who's
name.
Southeast Asian.
Hey, save that for the second edition of America's Next Top Zach and Steven Big Bang Theory podcast. We're doing it. We're doing it in
whole
chronological order,
universe
though,
was in
so
a hot,
we will be
dense
starting
state.
with young Sheldon.
14 million years? Oh my god. Yikes. I would quit the podcast if that was what we were doing next.
Hey, it's what the people voted for. I didn't put it as an option, but hey, it's what the people voted for.
They all wrote in young Sheldon.
Yeah.
My MVP, Gillian Jacobs Britta.
Okay.
Defiant to the point of misery, Britta Perry. Have a great one, guys. Communities, Matt.
Short
Trivia.
and sweet, much like our relationship with Papa through childhood.
What did Britta learn?
That rules are good and that Annie is awesome or something.
Yeah. What's Geller's ID?
Is that Is
The
that
prisoner
Willie's
guy?
last name? Is that his number? I don't know.
I have no idea what his f***ing number is.
If you know that without having looked, Pops,
yeah.
maybe like smell some grass.
Why does the dean fall out of infatuation with Willie? Because he's fighting Jeff?
Because he isn't really a murderer?
Oh, maybe. Don't question rules. Rules are good. I'm bad. All hail Annie. You stupid Zach! Obviously, Geller's ID is prisoner ID 042098.
Damn. Some
Come
fan
on.
I am. And
Fake
I think
fan.
Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
right. He fell out of infatuation with Willie because Willie's not a murderer.
Well, that's when I realized I shouldn't have had Steven as my co-host. He's not really a murderer. That's the
No,
whole time.
it was a lie.
I asked him to do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Dad. See you when the first grandparent dies.
Our next one is from Brandon Fulcomer. Gold star for Brandon today. Hey guys, this one is all right, but I don't think it's as good as the last 2 episodes. Well, that's where
Last 2 being basic crisis room decorum, true.
Mm-hmm.
Heated topic last week with queer studies. Some people like it. Some people, we had trouble with it. I liked it more than Steven did.
Yeah, I think this one's better than last week.
And
I
I
think
speak
it's
for the
great.
show, so we give it a minus.
The Jeff Willie Dean story is pretty funny, especially the Dean's freak out at Willie's death.
Mm-hmm.
Also nice to see Jeff go to some lengths to get back in the Dean's good graces.
That
I
was
like
kind of
the-
sweet.
Yeah, it was. I like the Britta, Abed, Annie story too. It's refreshing to have Britta and Annie in a story together that doesn't focus on them competing or being jealous of one another. Well, they were competing a little bit, but
Who? I missed what you...
Britta and Annie.
Not really so much competing, but
Well,
I
they were
do
competing to see who would win between getting the party or not getting the
Well,
party.
I guess that's true, but I was going to say, even if they're not competing, it's definitely like a weird power imbalance situation. Yeah.
Well, just describe competition. Define it. Pull up the dictionary.
Merriam-Webster's defines. You don't have 20 minutes to pause the podcast for me to Google something right now, Steven.
Well, okay, it would take you 20 minutes because you're
We've
in
got
Microsoft
3 more
fucking
podcasts
Edge, and
to
you have to go to
record tonight
google.com
after this one.
and then type in the Google search bar instead of just putting it at the top of the damn screen. What do you do? You're going to use Bing?
Well, I have to do HTTPS for secure so the government can't track me.
I used to use Bing. I thought it was
And
cool.
you shit on me
Yeah.
for using Microsoft Edge Canary? Thanks, Brandon. See you next week. All right. So I really thought...
Favorite funny moment. Either Abed's pop back to hashtag Annie's move with the Troy stand-in, or
Troy's
Britta's
arm.
or Britta's hoisted by your own petard explanation.
That was nuts. That was funny.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Trivia: how much would the school offer for the prisoners to attend via iPad? That was $300,000.
Smackaronis.
Ooh, smackaronis. What makes a party a rager under Annie's apartment rules? Was that having more than 8 people?
I don't know if that's what constituted a rager. That was the rule. I don't remember.
What video series does Jeff put on in his class when he's done teaching? Planet
Planet
Earth.
Earth.
They were about to talk about the ice caps.
Rhinos and another animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I with Planet Earth. I
Never
love
seen
watching
it.
those.
Did Snoop Dogg ever get to narrate it? I remember when that was a meme.
I don't think so.
For whatever reason, I thought
I
he was
think it's
actually gonna
only
get to do a
David
season.
Attenborough.
That tracks.
Which is fair. 300,000. Having more than 8 guests. Planet Earth. Episode MVP.
96,000?
96,000.
Is that what it is?
If I win the lottery, you will never see me again. Come on, Vanessa, we're just playing. I've been
Oh my God.
downtown. She's the worst part of that movie. Just as a whole. Vanessa sucks
I only saw it
ass.
once. Yeah.
I've seen it twice, but I've listened to the movie album a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Oh! Okay, so the funniest thing, Zach, this is a slight, give me 30 seconds. So you know how Lin-Manuel Miranda's always really loud when he gets to sing and things, and like in the movie he was like super fucking loud. They quite literally lowered his volume level on the album, and it's so funny.
Well,
like,
it's because in the movie theater, if they're not yelling at you, you don't realize that he's the famous guy.
He said, "Oh, que calor." Okay, his Brandon's episode MVP, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Good choice. The Dean, he has to be the favorite for season MVP so far, right? For me, he certainly has the most. P.S. I love the postcard, and there is a Let's Go Brandon lawn mowing service in the town where I live now.
No.
Gotta love the South.
Yes, Brendan received a postcard from these piggies right to his mailbox. And if you'd like to get my left-handed ink smear Cheeto fingers right in your home box, if you'd like me to know your address to know exactly where you live and where to put the mail, come on, be a patron over at patreon.com/yada yada.
And one lucky winner will receive some very explicit fan art courtesy of myself.
Yeah.
But it must be sent to a P.O. box. The United States Postal Service will not deliver this.
Steven's already on a lot of lists.
I'm on most of them at this point.
Well, thanks, Brandon. We like having you around.
Brandon. That's what
Thanks
Brandon
for getting
his
in on
email
short
with.
notice.
It says, thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon. I agree.
No need to toot your own horn.
Well, you know what time it is, Steven. We've done this already today. You know what's next.
If you want to really get down to pound with us, follow us on Twitter over at You Can't Disapod. We're also over on Instagram.
No, stop there. You're good to mention the Twitter now because we can't say write us in for next week because of when we record episodes.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on the Twitter and we'll call out for when we need the emails.
I did good job.
We did great. All right, so next up, did Steven watch the episode this week? Clank, 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 jail door shutting.
This week. Or should I be like a blues guy in jail? Did Steven watch the episode this week?
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, thanks for that. But no, it's not like that at all.
Oh, not that kind of prison.
Yeah. So
not an old-timey Western
As always, you've got 20 seconds on the clock to describe everything that happens in this episode. Mm-hmm. You might get a little bit longer than 20 seconds this time because I will be keeping time by chiseling tally marks into the concrete wall.
There's a delay.
Yeah. How do you feel? Do you think you're ready?
I have no idea how I'm going to do. I should theoretically do better because I have
watched the episode more recently.
Episode closer to what I normally do when we record. Like
right.
Today it was like 4 hours later.
Yeah, it sure was. Well, I got the timer ready. Let's get this thing kicked off. 3, 2, 1, go.
$300,000 goes to Greendale if they let these prisoners come in there on their iPads and take classes, so why not do it? One's in Jeff's class, but Jeff's slacking off, and so Bobby from Cougar Town, is going to tell on them to tell the warden, so they're not going to get the money, so then Jeff has to really teach them, then they rival and they fight, and he tries to kill Jeff, then Jeff throws him downstairs to kill him, but Dean's in love with him because he's a murderer, and then Abed wants to film a party.
I like a lot of what you got, even including a couple seconds on stating that it wasn't Bobby, but that it was Bobby from Cougar Town. However, I don't think you got enough of the B plot at all.
Yeah, no, I forgot
you
about
barely
what
got
it
it
was
at all.
Until the end.
And I don't think you got the ending, but we never do. Come on.
We don't get to finish when it's you and me, Zach. You know that.
It's all about the edge, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm torn because on one hand, I think you did better than you did earlier, like going right to last week. But on second thought, like I don't really know if you actually did that much better. You know, I gave you a C+ last time. We'll call that a B, a flat B.
Thank you, baby boy.
What about some favorite funny moments?
I do. The whole black means bad bit was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was one of my first ones too. Specifically, they had to. They had to.
They had
really funny.
Often.
Go ahead. That was mine.
Jeff's
The
face
look you
at
gave me.
"they'll rape us" when he was looking at Chang, like, what the hell is wrong with you?
That's what I mentioned on the last episode. In season 6, one of my favorite things are the reaction shots because of how in tune they are to the dialogue with each other. The whole first murder attempt scene.
Oh my
Just
god.
specifically, Joel's like, "Are you trying to murder me?" Specifically when he says, "You're trying as hard as you can to murder me right now."
That was my next one. I thought that was so funny because it's very clear. He's like, yeah, there's a ball bearing down there, and Jeff's like, there's a ball bearing down there.
Also, the like ominous whistling in the parking garage.
He
before.
wasn't whistling.
When I watched this for the first time with Lil, I mentioned this, and I guess now's as good a time as any to bring it up. I desperately would have loved at any point in this episode to get a cut to Willie in prison, sitting down at a desk and like going, "Ah!" while he's trying to like push Jeff or something, and like other prisoners walking around and being like, "What is this guy's problem?"
He's like making a bunch of noise in the library, and some guy's like, "Hey, I'm trying to study."
He's just whistling.
When he like is trying to leave, and he's like, "I'll see you," and like gets stuck on the piece of paper. Now I don't know why Jeff. I don't think the oy vey was necessary, but I did think it was funny that Jeff went and took the like piece of paper out so he could like wheel away. That was pretty hilarious.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll give you another one. I like Garrett riffing in class.
Oh my god.
All the confidence Garrett had me was like, "Oh, Mr. Winger used to be really funny." And then the voice he put on was like, "Oh, you'll die in the dirt."
Yeah.
Who's the king of the dirt to this guy? I thought that was really great.
I thought the whole hoisted by your own petard thing was great.
I had that.
That was so funny.
That was actually my next one. After that, Abed, a couple of his moments of directing the party, specifically this moment when he's talking to Jeff and he's like, "Party like there's no tomorrow." What? There's no tomorrow. Party like it. And then Jeff like, "Yeah, you're doing it." He like does an awkward dad dance. It's so
That was
awkward.
my
It made
next
me
one.
laugh.
That one's so funny. I think that after the party, when Abed brings in the actors, the fake Dean and fake Frankie wearing their exact same clothes
I didn't even
already.
notice really the Frankie. I was just watching the Dean. How many
Yeah,
fake
she was
Deans
right
is this
next
show
to
gonna
the
have?
Dean. It was so funny.
I put the Dean giving Willie a lap dance. And like taking him and putting him on the fireplace or whatever and getting real into it. And I'd be like, keep doing that. Keep doing that. And I also love how they make it like a high point in the drama of the episode because Willie is like, "Yeah, I got your man." to
Yeah.
Jeff. Really funny.
I liked when Jeff killed Willie and the Dean was like, "Willie!" And then kind of like in that same scene, the interaction where he was like, "I can't look it up.
You
I
broke
can't-
my
you broke
device.
my device."
Notice how they didn't say iPad.
Yeah, he's like, he can't look it up. You broke his device.
The last thing. Well, I also kind of to go along with what you said, and then I have one other. I wrote the last guy at the party when it's just the one guy dancing like crazy.
Yeah.
When it's just one
It's like,
person
come on.
in the apartment.
They're dancing like it's today. I thought that Elroy on the broom was really funny
Yep.
when he like asked for the whole number of the one guy. And he's like, "You're good."
Because it's an old black
He's
guy.
an old black guy, yeah. Like, of
And
course
I
he's in
love
jail.
that joke and the just roughness. It's so cartoony that it worked perfectly for me. The broom, jerry rigged
Yeah.
roller thing. It was
That was
so
really funny.
Those were mine.
And then I have one more.
No, I'm done. So that means we're done.
So
We're done.
I didn't. Obviously the last little chunk of the episode is not as funny as a lot of the body of it.
I think
but
the fight's pretty funny.
Yeah, the in tag. When after Abed takes over all of them except for the real life Abed, in the real life I was like eradicate. Like he's just joining in. That was really funny.
That whole intag is great. That was a classic community intag for sure. Well,
Like,
it
is there
seems
any
like
real reason that we're on these today? Well,
it seems like the mood is up compared to when we talked about the last one. Mm-hmm. I like this episode quite a bit. I remember when it first came out that it kind of felt like one of the Shrug episodes of the season. But I think the more I've watched it, the more I've come to appreciate that there's some pretty clever ideas in this episode. We're long overdue for a good Jeff episode, and this is a different kind of Jeff episode, and I like this kind of Jeff episode.
it almost
It's
calls
not-
back to me for the pottery episode where there's like somebody
Interesting.
getting
It's
like
kinda
favor
like
and
Rich.
attention
Willie's
that
Rich
he
in this.
thinks. Yeah, and
That's interesting.
I like
didn't
that.
think of that. Yeah,
'Cause I love the
like
pottery
this episode
episode.
quite a bit. It's not a high point. I'm starting to realize now that we're in the flow of it and so fast after season 5 how kind of different these longer episodes feel. So it still doesn't quite feel like the height of Community's greatness. I think the closest we've gotten to that this season so far, really the season premiere, I thought was pretty close to flawless for using a longer episode. And the Crisis Room decorum feels like an idea they would have done in an earlier season. I think this episode is a really solid 6th-season episode. It's almost good enough to be an earlier season episode, but it's still got a little bit too much airy, quiet space around it to quite feel. I don't know. This one's not 31 minutes like the last one, but it is like 29 minutes.
Yeah. I think that there are a couple instances where the length of the episode, I liked that they were able to add some more reactions or some bits that went a little bit further.
Agree.
Like the murder scene.
That's why we get a lot of those reaction shots is because on NBC it's got to be joke, then joke, then joke.
Yeah.
But now we've got time for joke, pause, character reacts to the joke like a real person, next joke. And I think that's cool.
I also really enjoyed this episode. I think that in the grand scheme of the show, it's probably not in like my top set, but for this season so far, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And if I were just looking for a random episode, this wouldn't be out of the question of one that if it was on, I would be upset about. I'd be happy to watch this one again. I think that, like in the future, I think that it was a funny episode. I like the bit of it. It's not the most original idea for 2022, but it came out, maybe before there were a lot of iPads on sticks.
You say that, and so did Pops. Is iPads on sticks a real life thing?
It's a thing in TV shows all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, I think even as far back as some of the, like, Nickelodeon, like, comedies had this. Like, the animated ones had.
It's not Nickelodeon, but they would have done that type of thing on Ant Farm.
Oh, yeah.
You ready to dive in? Let's talk about this episode.
A blue skidoo, we can, too.
It's a fun episode. I don't think there's going to be a ton to dive into, but I do think there was more to snack on in this episode than what I remembered. The Dean. I think this is a great Dean episode, off the rails of an episode that tried and kind of missed the mark at being a great Dean episode. He's back to his buffoonery. He's really silly. Jim Rash's eccentricities and reactions to everything are really, really funny this episode.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that the Dean gets a lot of, like, I like his role in the story this week. Like, he's driving it along but doesn't have to carry it, and that means that the Dean can just kind of sit back, whereas last week the Dean had to do all the stuff. It's not that the Dean can't carry an episode, because he's shown that he can time and time again, but I like when he actually gets to play off of someone, whereas the last episode he didn't really get to play off of Jeff that same way that he does in this episode, and I think that helps.
I really like all throughout this episode the way that they play on the Jeff and Dean relationship. Whether it's early on in the episode when Jeff is like, oh, we're running the school together, and they're kind of playful about that. And then later on to where a big part of Jeff's issue with Willie by the end of it is the attention that the Dean is giving him, which is not really something we've seen out of Jeff before. And it's something that I think is totally believable without crossing the line of what does he really think of the Dean. There's nothing sexual to it at all. But I totally believe
5 cans?
This guy's been giving me so much attention, and now this folksy prisoner comes out of nowhere, and he's taken over my town.
Yeah.
What do you think about Elroy? Let's do some Elroy watch.
I like Elroy in this episode. I think that his little bit at the beginning is funny. He's like, if that's what you think my role is going to be, just tell you that it's okay to say black. That's not it.
The joke of I'm nobody's 4th Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
I have a brain the size of Jupiter. I bet you there were quite a few people who were like, that's not the guy from Ghostbusters?
Yeah! Nope.
The two joke is so funny.
That one's really good. They had to often... Is this a cult? Great outfit, Elroy.
Britta just trying to say everything's fine and they're all hip with race because she lived in New York. Never isn't funny.
Yeah.
So Britta wants to have a party. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. I think this B-plot is the weak point of this episode.
It is.
I don't think it ever quite... Kind of like what I said last time with the bird thing. This plot line is okay for me for Community in its 102nd episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't reinvent the wheel. However, it kind of feels a little bit like the textbook plotline from season 5, where it's got a lot of the makings of a classic Community B plot that's really memorable, but it just doesn't quite feel like the point is there, or that there is a point to
can
it.
I say something, Zach?
Absolutely.
And this is not...
You don't have to ask for permission.
Well, that's... you think that.
In this context.
I think that if this plotline had been in a season 3 or 4 episode and Troy could have been a part of it, where like Troy and Abed wanted to throw a party and Annie didn't want them to or something like that, I think it could have been better. And that's
It's
nothing
shades
against
of-
Britta, nothing against Gillian Jacobs. It's just that Troy's
In
character...
fact, I like this for how much Britta we get in it.
Yeah.
She's not the problem with it, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think Troy would have fixed it alone. It's just not inspired enough. It reminds me a little bit of that episode of Nathan For You, where they turn a bar and just like the regular goings on at a bar into a quote unquote theatrical performance, so the
Yes.
bar's allowed to have smoking inside of it. If they had done a little bit more with the Abed trying to create real life out of this situation, they just don't quite have the time to do that with this storyline. There are a couple funny jokes, but it's kind of
But here's the
swing
thing,
and a
why don't they
slight
have the
miss.
time, Zach? This is an A-B plot episode, and it's 28 minutes.
That's true. There isn't really a C plot this week, is there?
No.
But
I
it's
think
a
it was just
pretty
execution was the issue.
encompassing A plot that has
Yeah.
a lot of moving parts to it.
Sure.
That a lot of people are involved in. I, much like you last week, I don't like Annie in this episode. I don't like her whole vibe.
Yeah.
It's okay to have rules. It's okay even to say, Britta, you just moved into our place. You're sleeping on the couch. You can't just all of a sudden have a party.
She's a
on your own."
culture!
That's pretty funny.
I couldn't
Annie
decide
is
whether
really
I liked it, and the
condescending.
second time they did it, I did like it a lot, so I liked it the first time too.
Especially when Britta does it not as well.
Yeah. And yeah, Annie's rude as fuck. It's like, you even have a bedroom. Well, fuck you, Annie. Like, shit, she was homeless. Like,
Yeah.
let her work her way up. She's working, like, paying...
Annie's absolutely one of those people that lets you stay to do something nice, but then really, really holds it over you.
Oh, yeah.
And then Frankie rolls in on one of the
I
iPad
like Frankie
devices.
this week. She takes kind of another backseat role, but she's really funny when she's in it.
She's funny, and that character is funny because she never really tells jokes.
Yeah.
It's just that she's so normal. And in this, she tries to do a bit to, like, be on the same level as everybody else, it kind of feels like, you know?
Yeah.
She comes in rolling on one of the iPad devices, so she's on the video screen, and explains the device in that it's to, does she say right here? Yeah, the state of Colorado.
Yeah, it's
is
revolutionizing
going
the private
to,
sector.
come to Greendale with this proposition. Then she takes a dramatic pause. My favorite part about this, another thing you couldn't really do as long and stretched out on NBC that the sixth season is good for. Watch Chang during this while they're waiting for her to come in. He's really funny.
He's like waiting for her to come through the front door.
And then he gets scared when she comes out. It's a really funny
So
moment.
good.
Frankie takes the dramatic pause and breaks the news that the Department of Corrections is going to give Greendale money, a significant amount of money, to let inmates go to Greendale virtually. I like this idea. It's not
I do too.
revolutionary. It's very classic sitcom-y, but it makes a lot of sense. It could help Greendale get some money. And I think the show does a good job of not quite going to all of the overwrought jail stereotypes or prisoner stereotypes.
Yeah, I do too. I do like that.
They have the jokes here, of course, and they kind of put a bow on it where Chang's like, they will rape us. We're all
Yeah.
going to get raped. Don't like Abed's joke here either. When he does like the black guy in every sci-fi movie voice, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It sounds like he's like a Kentucky Fried Chicken guy. It doesn't really
Not
sound
the best.
No. And Elroy gives it the stamp of approval, but it shouldn't have gotten it. They'll rape us. They'll rape us all. Great delivery from Ken. And this made me laugh too. Frankie trying to tell everyone, no, that's impossible because their genitals will be hundreds of miles away
From
And Chang
each
thinks
other?
It means that they're from like the person, like hundreds of miles away from the person that they belong to. Great Joel reaction there.
Yeah.
And Frankie keeps going on to tell the plan, the money that they'd be getting, why it's good for Greendale, but you're really focusing at what's going on in the background is Chang, like, very childlike, takes a good look at the video screen and sees, like, where the room on the other side is and goes to play with it, and he just looks like a little kid who's having a lot of fun.
She's like, we'll get $300,000. Of course you do it. If you're
I think-
Greendale, absolutely you do
that's a
it.
good amount of money.
Yeah.
I think this episode did a really good job. The actors acting against these devices.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea. What most likely happened was that someone's reading it off camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they react to them and look at them really well. The people acting on screen act like they're talking to the people
Yeah.
on the other side really believably. There's no like weird, they're on different planes of existence like there can be with stuff like this sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So now we cut to the next day or a couple days later,
Mm-hmm.
and the dean and Jeff are kind of bonding over running the school, what $300,000 can mean for them, really placing a nice foreshadow on this being kind of a Jeff and Dean episode.
Yeah.
I like the prisoners getting introduced. I really like the dean's line about, now, hey, if there's any race business, I'm going to turn the contrast on all of you way up so you look the exact same.
That's really funny.
And Willie instantly is a charmer as he meets the dean. I also thought it was funny, Padgett's line reading of, and this is your dean. Dean?
Dean?
He doesn't say, like, she doesn't say, this is your dean, Dean Pelton. It's like, this is your dean.
Dean.
Dean? Willie instantly charms, saying stuff like, well, look, we're all here because we did bad stuff, but we're not here, meaning the school, to
Yeah.
do any more of it. And I like that perspective on prisoners here, even though there's a weird dynamic between Willie and Jeff later on. There's not like these prisoners come to the school and cause trouble and turn the school into a prison, that kind of thing. That would have been an easy turn it into a concept episode where the school becomes a prison because of the prisoners. Glad
Exactly.
they don't do that. They're literally just people there to do schooling. Is this the type of thing that ever happens? Prisoners being able to take classes virtually?
Yeah.
Probably not like this, but maybe
Not
on a
like this,
computer.
but absolutely. People get their degrees in prison all the time nowadays. You can quite literally get a doctorate in prison.
I mean, it'd be a good time to get it done.
Yeah. A lot of time on your hands.
It's a really funny visual watching all the faces roll around and interact with the humans on set, and Leonard putting a parole me sign on one of them. This episode's nice because it brings a couple of the side characters back into the fray. We see Leonard and Dave, who's now like a honorary member of the background characters. We
Garrett's
see
in
a
this
lot
one
of
quite a bit.
Garrett. It feels like it's been probably since the first episode, kind of, since we've seen these characters, other than like they've been calling us in a lot lately. We'll only get a couple words in before. There weren't many of those characters in last week's episode, was there?
No, there weren't.
Also, this episode decides to remember that Jeff is a teacher. How do you feel about that?
It stinks a little bit that Jeff hasn't really progressed much as a teacher, but it tracks. It's fine.
Yeah, this is like the first time we've seen him since then in class. I like the dynamic here of, I don't know, Willie kind of challenging Jeff and Jeff not knowing how to react to being challenged in this way. Willie's a charmer and he gets the class on his side, and Jeff is not used to that. He's kind of
Well, I
getting rusty.
do like, though, that I feel like Jeff is pretty, like, playful with Willie at first until, like, they're, like,
The
coming
murder thing.
together. Yeah, until that, Jeff was all on board with Willie and really supportive. And I kind of wonder what Willie's motivations are. I mean, he genuinely, I think, wants to learn, and he's ticked that Jeff's kind of slacking off.
That's a good point.
But he doesn't really have a ton of reason. Like, all he does is really
I
go to
think
the
there
dean.
is. I think there is a small thing that we'll get to later. But I do see your point, and I think they could have nailed it home a little more.
Yeah.
And you might not like the reason. I like the lines here where Jeff is, talking about his history with law and how he was kind of a criminal on that side of things.
Yeah.
And saying stuff like, I know the difference between us is an orange jumpsuit. And even when Willie like backhandedly mentioned that he's killed someone, Jeff reacts in a good way. He says, okay, you have the floor, address the class, tell your story. You're right. There isn't immediately a problem. Jeff isn't like whining about the prisoners being in his class. He's kind of here for it. He's listening to the guy. I think Joel McHale's really charming in this episode. He doesn't get a lot of jokes, but he carries a lot of weight in this episode. And
I think it's got to be one of my favorite Jeff episodes of the season.
he
not
hasn't
my
gotten an
favorite.
episode in a while, so it's nice. He's been very much in the background.
Yeah.
So Jeff puts on Planet Earth for the law class for
Everyone in
the
the
day.
class seems kind of pissed that Planet Earth is on.
And that's gonna be like a point of contention a little bit later. So we'll come back to that. Now to the Britta and Abed thing. Britta is kind of... I don't really have a lot to say about this. Britta is kind of trying to play like kid with two parents saying, Mom said I could do this. Or saying like, Abed, you've lived at the apartment longer than Annie. Shouldn't you be allowed to say I can have a party? Do you think the callback's funny? Do you think it's funny that they have a black hand for Troy? I think it's kind of funny.
The black hand was kind of funny, but I don't think the callback itself is funny.
I think it's funny to reference the idea of callbacks when Abed's like, back then I was so concerned with pacing.
Yeah.
And here he's like, Annie, I'm hoping something exciting happens so this can be a callback. Annie, I don't know what that means. Blares a foghorn in her face. That's funny. Hey, Troy.
Abed's been killing it with the shirt game this season.
Absolutely,
I feel like he normally does, but like this season, every episode he's had really cool ones. They got that Yahoo screen money.
It's funny here when and they spend it on cool shirts. Yeah. They mentioned something about I have to go back. That Abed won't do the party thing, but for one of his movies had Leonard in his apartment naked filling the living room with lizards. And then Abed sets up like they're going to call back to that, but we don't get to see it, and it's a real shame.
I wish we did get to see.
What a shame.
Yeah, reverse Godzilla. That would have been a good trivia question. What's Abed's Leonard movie called?
You have to live with that forever.
Yeah.
But you didn't take the opportunity.
Not if I take my time machine. Yeah, that's a callback to last week's episode when I talked about the Work the World tour. It's a time machine bit.
Okay, so now we're in the parking garage. This is a setting that we haven't seen really yet, but that we're going to see a lot of in Season 6. Because they only had so many places they could use, and this is like the parking lot of their studio. We see it a lot. This scene is funny, from Willie whistling to him kind of like rolling and like he's walking. I don't know. Just the vibe of this scene is perfect. You know exactly what's going down before it happens. Mm-hmm. And you almost lose sight for a second that he's just a guy and a device. There is a little bit of a menacing, like, what's this guy trying to do to Jeff? And then when there's the impact of the push.
Yeah.
It's
so funny.
It's just a little iPad. Here's where I think his reasoning is. I think it might have something to do with, so he sees that Jeff has a nice car. He sees that Jeff is kind of like said that he lied to get in the place where he was with his law. Willie feels like he's worked really hard and he's ended up in jail. And Jeff has not worked that hard and should have ended up in jail, but has a nice car and has to Willie a nice job.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
That's gotta be it. I'll buy that.
I hate it when I lose a ball bearing, you know?
Man.
When I'm right near a staircase and one of my ball bearings just wriggles its way loose.
It's the worst.
It is the worst. Joel plays this all off perfectly. It can't be easy to act off a little roly puppet thing, and Joel does a great job. The height of the thing is perfect. It's really
I like that, like, on them, it seems like the heights can kind of adjust a little bit.
That is
funny. It's really funny because when Willie was talking to the class, like, it started, like, going up, then he, like, lowered it back down when he, like, that was great.
You're right. That is funny. It's a cool thing to have in the episode, these little puppets.
I would say they did a really good job. I'm sure it's not that hard to do, but they did a good job making it look like they were actually on the screens. Like, it doesn't look like it's superimposed.
Well, even, like, the glare on the screen that you can see as it's moving around. Don't know how they did this, but however they did it, did a great job.
They did a really good job, yeah.
So Jeff helps him so he can keep moving, and like the guy who kind of just tried to kill him, even though there was no threat, he just lets him go, and I love it.
It wasn't a very good try, but it was a try nonetheless.
I'll see you in class tomorrow, guy who just tried to murder me. Cut back to the apartment, and it looks like Britta is on the winning side right now because they're putting up decorations and prepping for a party that looks poised to host more than 8 people under the guise of it being Abed's film, Britta's Party. That is clever.
I'll say
like
later
this.
on we learned that Britta wrote the script. I think that's a really good effort by Britta. She deserves to throw a party after putting together a whole ass script just to do it.
And it's cute, Annie reading the beginning of the script describing the party, and then Sophia cleans up the end. Yeah, you say Britta wrote the script. It's a lot of pages, but Annie gets to the end very fast.
It's true.
But it's an ambiance film, you know. There's not a lot of script to be had.
You get it.
They say the first movie to capture the heart of a real party. Did they not see, what was it called? Project
X?
Wasn't that about a party or something?
Every party is exactly like Project X. I never saw it, but it looked like they put a bunch of white teenagers in a house with a bunch of alcohol and
filmed it.
And literally filmed them
And
having a
didn't
fake
make it
party.
a reality show. They made it a movie.
Yeah.
They even turned the Coucher thing. Britta gets the upper hand, turns it around on Annie, the funny voice that she did to kind of make fun of her.
It's
Now
the
she doesn't think it's so
Coucher!
funny. Really manipulative of Annie, the way she hugs Abed and Britta goodnight.
Yeah.
I feel like the hugging Abed before bed every night is very much a power play. A lot of
gotta be.
Annie power plays going on in here, and I don't really care for it. I don't think she's a particularly good friend in this episode.
No.
Like moments like this. Even though
I do like how close her lips get to Britta's ears.
the
I'm here for
sad,
that.
lonely little boy deep inside me, hearing Allison Brie whisper in Britta's ear, "You will beg for forgiveness."
Yeah.
It's 9:00 at night right now. It makes me want to push this podcast in a different direction. But as far as the actual program and what this is for Annie's character, it's a shade of her that I don't really like to see.
It's true.
I like it better than like whiny throwing a fit.
Absolutely.
In the Crisis Alert episode.
I'd rather have mean, controlling bad friend Annie than crying baby whiny Annie.
I like the scene here where Jeff comes into the dean's office and he says, like, we've got a low stakes but creepy problem with one of the Y felons. That's a funny bit of dialogue. I just like that Jeff's like, so this is awkward, but one of those iPads on a rollie tried to murder me last night. And the dean's already having a one-on-one with Willie. This is when Willie really starts to make a power play to try to take Jeff's position in the school and gets pretty far with it.
Yeah, honestly. He knew what to do. He beat Jeff at his own game.
This is one of those things that's so silly that they do the whole, Jeff's like, well, why do you believe him over me?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why would a murderer try to murder you? I don't know. I think it's funny. It's so stupid, but I believe the dean would be charmed by this folksy talking guy.
Now, I get all the Dalmatians. I understand the, like, Mardi Gras mask. What's that little hand with the one finger sticking up? What's he use that for?
Well, you see, that looks like it could maybe hold rings.
Cock rings?
Paperweight, sure. Jeff's getting jealous because Willie's charm is on display, and the dean is the dean is clearly getting Jeffrey vibes off of Willie. And Jeff doesn't like that.
I get it. He's handsome. He's rugged. He's charming. He's in jail.
And on top of that, Willie doubled down and complained about Jeff not being a good teacher and only showing planet Earth. So not only does he not get believed that he was about to be murdered, what did Willie think was going to happen if Jeff had died?
I don't know. I think he was just taking out his murderous prisoner rage.
Once you see red, it just takes over and you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
It's funny. What do you think yard juice is?
Yard juice sounds like something that you make, obviously, in the yard, which is, for those who don't know, prison term slang for their playground with the basketballs
Their
and the benches.
playground.
Yeah, it's where they have that's where they have recess.
That's where they play sports team.
It is. So maybe they, like, secretly in, like, a trash can or something. Do they have trash cans? Because I know they make alcohol in the toilets in prison sometimes.
Yeah. They sure
Maybe
do.
yard juice. Everybody gets together in like a circle and they all spit
and they
in a
juice
cup.
it up.
Yeah, they juice it real hard. Law. I don't know why Jeff did the accent. It didn't like bother me too much, but I didn't think it added much to the interaction. I feel like he could have just talked.
This scene kind of feels like a repeat of the first scene in Jeff's class. After Willie has already tried to kill Jeff, I feel like we could have done with another confrontation between the two of them, maybe in the classroom, but this is one of those things that, like, a 22-minute episode could have cut the scene, probably. Yeah. Does anything important happen here?
No. Just the dirt.
It's just that we've gone past Jeff, like, being friendly and wanting him to talk to the class. Yeah. He's more against him now. This is when Garrett gets to riff in front of the class. Back at Britta's,
I feel like it really could have cut right to this.
Yeah. Abed is starting production of his film, and Jeff is at the party, kind of bringing the vibes down with this whole Willie thing. And this is the hoisted by your own petard bit. And do you know what it means?
No idea.
They said they told Britta not to Google it. So
Well, I don't know
also
what a
did
petard
not.
really is. That's what I don't know.
Petard?
I know what the expression means.
I'm gonna look it up. Riff. Let me get a riff.
Well, you know, for the layman, I would say a petard is, you know, it's the same as don't shoot yourself in the foot. You know, it's maybe it's like you lay a trap for someone and it's a petard. Is that like a little snare?
You're right. Hoist with his own petard is a phrase from a speech in William Shakespeare's play Hamlet that has become proverbial. The phrase's meaning is that a bomb maker is lifted off the ground with his own bomb and indicates an ironic reversal or poetic justice. But Britta's description of it was kind of that.
Kind of that.
What do you think of Britta turning, this is a Britta party, don't be a buzzkill?
Well, I was just going to ask, did Britta have fun at her party? Because we see her like a couple times and she falls asleep on the couch, I guess, but she always sleeps on the couch, so I don't really know.
Well, at this point, she hasn't, a couple of things. At this point, she hasn't gotten annoyed with what Abed's doing yet. Mm-hmm. Because he hasn't, like, taken Abed control of it and made it not a party.
She probably had
yet.
a good time.
And secondly, when you're the one putting on a party, do you ever really get to have fun? You're kind of just taking care of everybody else the whole time. Sure, that can be fun, but it's a different kind of fun than just showing up to a party.
Yeah. Especially if Sophia's not going to clean up.
Jeff's dance, his little shifting weight thing, that's about the dancing skills I've got to work with. How's that going to work when you teach me how to do the
I can work with
Charleston?
that. I've done more with less.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you've done less with a lot more.
It's true.
The Dean and Frankie show up, but it's not to bust up the party. They're not the cops. It's weird that the school employees just show up. But I guess some of these people are students. Some of these people are employees. Who knows? They do mention, some of you guys, we know most of you guys are 30. We're not talking about this. They show up to break the prison people into the party. Prison break. What do you think?
Prison Break. Yeah, the tattoos.
Mm-hmm. The show.
I watched, I think, the first season and a half of Prison Break.
Not the reboot.
No.
There was a reboot.
Uh-huh. I feel like at that point, just stay in jail, you know? You probably need to be there.
This really sucks for Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not really all these prisoners' faults. If anything, just Willie should have been removed, not the whole program being called off.
All the people are good, you know? Except for Willie.
Another thing that I don't get, how this is a 30-minute episode, and we get real quick from Willie undermining Jeff to Willie now having a ceremony where he's going to become a professor.
A professor.
He's going to actually take Jeff's job later on.
Yeah.
The same school that 2 episodes ago could not let anyone know that a dog might have gotten a degree can now have
they have an
murderer
iPad
as a
teacher.
professor. Yeah, you weren't worried about the murderer part, just the iPad
Just
part.
the iPad.
Next morning, this is Britta starting to get sick of that wily Abed and his Weasley shenanigans.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This guy's already an actor. He's dressed like Jeff.
Uh-huh.
But Abed didn't let it know that he had actors yet.
Uh-huh. Well, maybe he hadn't quite gotten to that point yet, or maybe he hadn't cracked that idea. He knew he had, like, an actor he could call to pick up some shots, but now he's like, I didn't get anything from that entire party, so I'm going to recast the whole thing.
But they're already there. They're right outside the door right now.
Literally, as you said it, they all come in. No, I don't know. Maybe it's the speed dial celebrity impression.
Britta's face when all the people walk in, like, what the whole
the fake Dean, but it's a different fake Dean. I guess it is Frankie. I didn't even realize it was supposed to be Frankie. And back to the party, day 2 of the party. Now we're in the parking lot, and we're going to get kind of a revisit of the murder scene where Jeff is confronted by Willie again, and this time he can't take it. He picks him up and does what Willie wishes he could have done to Jeff. He throws him, not hurting anything and not really proving a point to the man Willie on the other side of the screen, right? It's just like a puffing his chest. This is kind of a more believable, redeemable version of the Hulk out, because I get this. It doesn't do anything for him but get him in trouble. But I also get sometimes you just got to throw that thing and break it.
The way the Dean runs down to hold him in his arms.
Holds his lover in the last moments of their time. I want to bring up here, I find it very interesting typically on TV shows, when there's a mobile device, they very specifically do not use Apple products because Apple is very, very, very strict on how their devices can be used in movies and TV, to the point where they don't let bad guys use Apple devices
it's true.
when they sign contracts. So in this episode, it's very clearly iPads, to the point where later on they like press the button on one of them and it makes a home screen come up, and it's the Apple screen. This was on Yahoo. I guess it was before Apple TV, but I don't know if Yahoo had anything special with Apple. And Dan mentioned on the commentary for this episode that he was a little worried that they weren't gonna like the device being broken because they're very strict about showing their devices broken, but it ended up not being a problem. I'm just surprised that they would use an iPad and make it so clearly an iPad.
Maybe they figured, you're showing this on what?
This is on Yahoo's dime anyway. Who cares?
No one's
8
gonna
iPads.
watch.
Everyone get an iPad. Willie! This was a really awkward moment that I thought was kind of funny. This security guard who comes to take Jeff away that just repeats everything the dean says, but with no conviction.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
It has like vibes of one of those like Prizeo, win a trip to the set of Community, spend the day with Joel McHale to fund cancer research, and get a speaking role on the show.
Yeah.
Because this guy's like, you're on sabbatical. And Jeff's just like, yeah.
You're on
I love all
sabbatical,
the
sir.
shades of the dean we get in this episode.
So good.
The dean, I can't look it up.
You destroyed my device and my heart. You destroyed,
his
device
device
and his heart, sir.
I think that guy is a security guard who like works in the the garage, and
He
showed
actually
up
walked in
started
and just
saying
stumbled
that.
upon.
And then they were like, okay, but now just do it a couple more times so we can get coverage. What do you think of the bar as kind of a new hangout setting in season 6? Here, there's a reason because Jeff can't be at the school right now, but we see them hang out here more often as the season goes on.
They were there twice last episode, at least.
That's true. That's true.
And they were
but it
gonna
was
go
like
there a third time.
someone visiting Britta at work. It wasn't like the whole group convening somewhere other than the study table.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird.
Well, I think in some regards it makes sense because there's
Sure,
nothing...
why the f*** would they hang out at a school that they barely go to?
Well, they all go to the school, but why the study table?
Do they all go to the school?
Who cares? They're not ladders.
They all
Remember
physically go
ladders.
to
Annie was
the
in
school.
ladders. It's all in the ladders.
Is Abed taking classes? Is Britta?
Anyway. I like it because as it makes less sense for why they're all at the school, it makes more sense that they'd have other places that they hang out as a
Sure,
group
I like
sometimes.
that aspect
So
of
I
it.
like that. Then why do you think it's weird?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because Britta's hair's combed back like that.
That's what it is. She slicked her hair back. It gets slicked back real
She looks like a real
nice.
piece of shit. I need... And by that, I do not mean that Gillian Jacobs looks like a piece of shit. It's a reference
Very
to a
much
television
not.
show.
Her hair looks great that
Emmy
way.
nominated.
I think
I think you should
with Tim
leave
Robinson.
because if someone with slick back hair, sloppy steaks, living for New Year's Eve, piece of shit.
Dangerous Nights crew.
Yeah.
All the way. I don't like the resolution for this Annie thing. I don't like on this show when they have characters be assholes and nobody tells them that they're an asshole.
Yeah.
Annie's controlling of her friends. Sure, it turned around on Britta, but it was kind of more on Abed than on Britta. I don't know. I don't think it's a good resolution to the story. This is one of the reasons why that plot line doesn't quite come full circle into something satisfying for me.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to hatch up the idea of how they can, ruin the chances of Willie taking Jeff's job?
Yeah, well, he's not even taking his job. He's just being made a professor. Jeff is on a 2 week
2 weeks sabbatical.
paid
You're right.
sabbatical. So he's going to be back teaching, but he doesn't want this guy to be made teacher at his school. Not by his dean. He wouldn't
I
hurt
really
him.
like this quietly sweet as fuck moment of Jeff saying shit like, I wouldn't try to take advantage of the dean. I wouldn't hurt him. Sure,
Yeah.
he has before, but it's a nice moment to see him say that about someone like the dean who's like this pipsqueak that he can just make do whatever he wants.
I agree.
So that gives him the idea that he needs to go talk to the dean. He needs to go help the situation, but he can't just do it because he's on sabbatical. So Elroy starts to hatch up the plan of what they can use and what they need to form a device that would allow them to sneak Jeff into the campus. I really like the way that Elroy stands up and he's like, I need this and I need this and I need this. And Chang's just not following any of it. And he's like, dude, we're kind of doing Jeff's thing right now. It's really selfish of you. So back to the party. I didn't even really quite realize that it was actually still happening when they were all in the bar.
He's still trying to film.
Was Abed at the bar?
No, he's filming.
Okay. So now Britta kind of like, in a way that she's being scolded and told to do this by Annie, you know, has to go and tell Abed in front of everyone that Annie was right. No party. The movie's stupid. Call it quits. Send everyone home.
Yeah.
And what happens here? How do they close this out?
She's just telling him that, you know, parties are a place for sad people to tune out their sadness with music, and Abed's
parties
like,
are stupid, so this whole thing is
and
stupid.
Britta's like, I'm stupid, and Annie's like, I'm the winner.
Rager parties that's like a house full of drunk people, loud music, are kind of stupid, I think.
I used to have fun at parties in college, but I wouldn't enjoy that now.
I didn't not have fun at moments, but I don't think it was the best at all.
It's fair.
Also, this beat here, okay, so Annie telling... I don't like then that it's like, well, Britta, since you messed up, this is the punishment you're going to get from Abed. No, Annie's the one who's been punishing Britta this whole time.
Yeah.
Abed, like, just agreed with her or whatever. And then they do kind of like with, what was it, Hard Drive and Wingman. We get a glimpse at the Community spinoff, Female Friends. Girls? Do you like these jokes? Or was once enough?
I like some of them.
I think Hard Drive and Wingman was better than Female Friends.
Yeah, I didn't laugh at this one.
Although the bizarrety of their like snap, hand down girls, thumbs up on open palmed hand girls is kind of funny. And now everything's about to go wild. We're at this weird like ceremony that looks like a wedding between the Dean and Willie, but there's also like 4th of July stuff all over the place. And Willie's about to become a professor, but it's like the warden of the jail is the one who's there performing it.
Yeah.
And it is very much like a wedding. It's like this Dean and this person. Okay, so we get the sting of Elroy and Jeff sneaking into the situation. And I like whenever there's a picture of Jeff somewhere, it's an awkward
so
season
bad.
1 picture.
Yeah.
Like when there was the picture next to the Dean's bed, it was like an awkward season 1 picture of Jeff. I think that's funny. Do you think this is a clever bit? The white guy needing a full prisoner number and Elroy, who is very much on a device that is not like all the others, and doesn't even bat an eye.
Yeah, I chuckled at that.
Yeah, it's funny. Have a nice night, sir. He really was ready for it to be harder than that. And Jeff takes over as it waddles into the room to be the person who has some words to say why these two should not be wed. Willie Sieber Smith. Middle name Sieber.
John Jacob Willie Sieber Smith.
I also like the
I like
joke
the 13th Amendment joke.
And the 13 cents or less per hour to pay you to do this job.
That's the law.
Yeah, Jeff comes in on his broom, and what can we say here? Now we're going to have a fight, robot. It's really silly, not a lot to say about it, but as cartoony of a visual this episode is put together, it's an expected yet satisfying cartoony ending. It works just fine. Even like Jeff getting real intense and like taking off his shirt as things get heated. And I even like that Jeff gets some moments here to, I don't know, the Jeff of last season when we first saw him as a teacher would not be willing to say, I kind of like working here and I'm starting to feel like responsible for some stuff at this place. I think it's cool to hear Jeff say that, and it makes it even more funny and community-esque that he's doing it while on an iPad duct taped to a broom.
I think it's funny that they're like, okay, prison rules. Let him say what he has to say.
Yeah, we're going to handle this prison way. The sabbatical doesn't count here. Let's hear what he's got. Wait, so why does the warden know? So the warden says, you guys know Willie's innocent, right? What? He's the warden of the jail. Why does he know that Willie's innocent? Why is he in jail if it's known by the warden that he's innocent?
Because his appeal process is still going on, Zachary.
Is that what they say? And his appeal is in motion. Oh, then... Interesting.
You don't get let out of jail even if they know you're innocent. They have to let a judge tell you can come out of jail, and then in a couple weeks you get to leave jail.
But Bill Cosby,
it took him. He was still there for a while.
Yeah. Yep. Can't wait for that comeback tour that we bought all the tickets for. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
So I want to mention here while we're fighting, while all the robots are picking sides and then getting involved in the fight, they were talking about on set that Rob Schraub, who was directing, was kind of like, to get people involved, the actors on set was like, okay, everybody pick which iPad you want to see win, and like act that way, because they probably didn't see any faces on the iPad.
Yeah.
And Dan said that every time they'd like explain, okay, this is what we need you to do, and then they'd start doing the scene, and Richard Erdman would walk over and punch one of the devices down on the ground. And it was funny the way Dan said it. He was like, look, Richard Erdman deserves to be respected by everyone. His first acting credit was Gunsmoke. We all need to take him really seriously, but he's starting to get old, and he's got some like eccentricities. I just think that's so funny that they'd be like, all right, now everyone cheer, action, thwop. I think that's so funny. I wish they would show us some footage of him doing that.
I know, that'd be hilarious.
This is where I would have loved a shot as Jeff and Willie are fighting and Jeff straps his shirt off. A shot, like, maybe of both of them. First of Jeff alone in a control room, and then of Willie, like, in his cell or wherever he does the thing at a computer lab. I think that'd be really funny. They even do a great job of, like, when the devices are pushed right against each other, finding a way to still show their faces without it looking weird.
Well done.
Good job, show. Yep, so Jeff falls, he loses the fight in a physical way, but he's won the heart of his damsel back as the Dean turns off Willie's device and strolls along in arm in arm, much like Shrek and Fiona, as they leave to true love's bliss. And Garrett, way to go, Mr. Winger. Way to go. It's a picture-perfect, weird ending to a weird episode that I think works really, really well. Just don't think too hard about it. Just have a good time.
I like it.
Don't be weird. Don't be
weird about it. Just enjoy it.
And then we end with a truly classic end tag.
A 2.5 minute end tag.
The end tags that I think maybe the credits with music
Oh,
go
goddamn!
about a minute. So
just let me have it.
To pull the curtain back, we're recording this podcast the same day we recorded last week's podcast. We've mentioned that a couple of times. I love the moments where you just like snap at me. There was one on last week's podcast where you like slipped up on one of your words and said the wrong word, and I made a joke about it, and you went, I messed up. And I just like didn't even hear it and kept talking. And I thought it was really funny. You said it just like that. I messed up. I just like to keep a tight ship of professionalism around here.
I just figure you're going to fix everything in post anyway.
Let's wrap. I don't. If anything,
It's
I make
true.
it worse and choppier. No, I do a great job in post.
I wish
Shut
I could.
up.
I need to ask Danny what episode that was where the audio's off for like 5 minutes.
Will you ever let me live that down?
I mean, you've edited like 5 days worth of content from us.
That
and, like,
is
there's one
I think it's more than that.
Oh shit.
I think we
'cause
did
the
like
Patreon
100 hours in
alone
1
has-
year or something.
Oh shit.
Oh, so where are we at? This end tag I think is really great. So far, the end tags in season 6, other than last week's, have been pretty great, pretty legendary.
Yeah.
But they're often like a weird thing that's connected to the episode and not just like a goof around of the whole cast. I think this works really well. The timing between all the video screens pays off really well.
I like that
moving
Elroy's
from-
still on the broom.
Yeah. The Dean moving from his to Jeff's is really funny. Abed being the guy with the Zoom background makes a lot of sense. Picking up off the joke earlier in the episode that Chang's homeless but like uses other people's bathrooms, so he's doing a Zoom call from Abed and Annie's bathroom. There's a lot of good stuff.
And we're
in
on
this
Zoom
tag.
right now.
A lot
This
of packed
scene right
details.
here holds up better than most things from sitcoms that didn't come out right now, because this is literally exactly what it's like to be in Zoom meetings, which I know I had to do a shit ton of during the pandemic. And when we do like our round table and things, there's always somebody who's using like, I don't know, you can cut this if it's rude, but somebody who's using like their iPhone like wired headphones and like holding the cord up, or like not using headphones at all, and like there's someone who's like, there's like a kid running around and shit. Like, it's great.
There's someone who is surrounded by 30 fans that are all on full blast. Like they gathered more fans just for the Zoom meeting. No, this is
I'm gonna
funny.
send
You're
you
right.
mine in an MP4.
It predates all of the jokes about this type of conversation, and it does it better than a lot of the ones that do it now.
Yeah,
it's really funny. They even do a good job of paying attention to the detail of once Abed takes over more of the screens, that they all have to be saying the same thing because they're all Abed at the same time. So the way they only shoot one and then the rest of them works really well. I like the bit of Britta's internet giving out, and also she's being arrested for being on a Zoom call in a coffee shop.
I guess.
I have every right to be here. Dan Harmon on the commentary, when Elroy stands up and turns around, he's like, Keith David, pretty nice butt. I was like, that was not a butt double. That's just his butt. He said he's still in such good shape. I bet he could still kick the ass of Rowdy Roddy Piper. Have you seen They Live?
They Live?
Is that that's what it's called? It's the John Carpenter movie with Keith David and Rowdy Roddy Piper, where he like wears the glasses that make him see like the consume sign. You don't know this movie?
No.
It's a really iconic movie, but it's also kind of corny as how old it is. And there's like a 30-minute scene of Keith David and Rowdy Roddy Piper beating the out of each other,
Rest
like
in
comically.
Peace. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
it's a really good scene. Yeah, great intag. Pretty great episode, I think. Good way to end it. It's not an all-timer, but for a run-of-the-mill, not trying to reinvent the wheel episode of Community in season 6, I think it is like a little bit over pretty good. I'm going to call it. We've done the episode. I've had a good time. I think we've said all there is to be said, unless you've got anything else just eating you up.
Zach, I just want to clear the air. And start by saying I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for.
Where is this going?
But of course there's blame to share.
Yeah. And none of it seems to matter
anymore.
All right, well, let's
eradicate.
Let's do an MVP.
Eradicate.
Who's your MVP this week?
I'm an honorable mention to I don't know, Elroy, I guess. Honorable mention to Bobby
handing
from
him out like
Town.
candy.
And MVP goes to Jeff this week. I like Jeff.
Yeah. Why don't we throw out an honorable mention to Courtney Cox too? She earned hers. She did what she needed to do.
Bang.
Yeah, it's Jeff. It's a great Jeff episode. It's not the typical Jeff episode. His ego trip in this episode makes sense of the character that we know, and also doesn't make me like him any less, which is always really nice in a Jeff episode. The B plot is slight, but the whole episode's successfully slight. I think it's a good episode, and I think Jeff earns the MVP.
Congratulations, Jeffrey Winger. Come on down, claim it.
Your trophy will show up in the mail anytime.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week. Let's wrap this thing up. I've had fun discussing this one with you. A little bit lighter, breezier than it was talking about the last one, huh?
We got to mix it up every once in a while.
Yeah, we just got to mix it up. Next week, we will be back. I'm looking up what the next episode is called because I don't know. I don't know which one's next, actually. We've talked next about week, it before. Yep, next week is Basic Email Security. It's kind of considered the final of the trilogy of cooperative calligraphy, and this one. It's like a bottle episode where everyone airs their grievances. I don't remember loving this episode, but there are good things about it, and it has Jay Chandrasekhar in the flesh in the episode.
Hey-o.
So we'll check that out next week. Follow us on Twitter at YouCan'tDisapod to keep up to date with when we need your emails so you can incorporate some trivia, MVP, and favorite funny moments into this program. Also, if you like what we do here and you want to support us on a further level, on a money level, Christine, I know you got those $5.
Come on, Christine.
Just drive that evil car right into our Patreon garage.
Christine has written in.
Yeah, I know. and you were saying she didn't. And you had me second
Shit.
guessing if she had.
Shit.
Write that on in,
like it was
Christine.
new.
Send in that money right on over to patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Steven, I mentioned the Twitter, but where else can the people find us?
Other than Twitter, which we've talked about multiple times through this episode, myself included, rewind the tape. You can follow us on Instagram over at You Can't Disapod. See, I don't know the names if I don't say them in order. And we're also over on YouTube and Facebook. Whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
I'm glad you
Find
can
us
remember
on
the whole name of the show.
4chan. It gets pretty racy there. Just keep that in mind. We're also
Flip on that dark
Tumblr.
web. Find us and buy firearms from us.
You can find a full run-on sentence transcript of each episode on Tumblr, written in wingdings. So have fun with that. Other than that, just come find us. Like sniff around, you'll see us.
Well, this has been great. Everyone from inside the Dreamatorium. I meant to say that. I meant to say something else. Pretend I didn't say that. All right. Well, from inside Colorado.
Zach said inside the Dreamatorium
you.
first.
From inside Colorado State Penitentiary, Black Lives Matter. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And don't you ever f***ing dare sell me out like that in front
We're
of
breaking
the
out of
audience
here, Zach.
ever again.
I got
We're
an
done.
anus full of
the
spoons.
podcast is done. Did you say you have a penis full of spoons?
Anus full of spoons.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
I got like 4 spoons up my butt. We take 2 each. We dig our way out of here.
Bye, everybody.
We're in different cells.
Love one another.